Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I am Rosalind Ukich, and I know in my last video I promised that I was going to be back the next day, and I wasn't. That was, I believe, Friday, and it is now Tuesday. So this is why I hesitate to even record anything for YouTube, because I'm not very consistent with it, because life is just crazy. So what's been going on? How have things been going? So the fast that I talked about on Friday, that weekend fast did not actually end up happening. And mostly because I was having a lot of struggles with my chronic illness flare-ups and things like that. And I just really felt like I needed to give my body the nourishing foods that it was really needing at that point. And so I did that. This is a really important lesson that I think we all need to remember when we're engaging in any kind of health journey, is you need to listen to your body. So there are two things that I want to say about that before I get into the real meaty topic of this video. First of all, listen to your body and what it needs, not what it wants. I'm going to be talking about that in just a little bit, actually. So yes, our bodies will often crave things that it shouldn't have. I mean, just like my children often crave things they shouldn't have. So you have to be the parent to your body and tell your body, no, you do not need that. There is no essential carb. There is no essential sweet anything. There's no essential junk food. But there are a lot of essential foods that we need. Healthy fats, good meats, vegetables. For some people, they can do fruit. I'm not one of those people. But, you know, there are essential foods that our bodies need in order to really function and survive. Like I said, there's no essential carb. So there's no carb on this planet that your body actually needs to survive. Any kind of glucose that your body needs, it makes its own through the liver. Through a process called gluconeogenesis. And so you don't need to give your body any extra sugar, because it will do that all on its own. And so it does not need your help in that way. So be the parent to your body, listen to what it needs. My body needed nourishing foods. And so I spent the weekend doing really good keto, eating really large salads with healthy meats. And as a result, I felt much better. And so, I am already I think I'm coming in on close to 20 hours of my, of this fast, and it's going to be approximately between 72 to 90 hours, depending on A, how I feel, B, how life goes. Also, one thing that's really great to know about fasting is that it is flexible. You can mold it around your schedule. So you can do intermittent fasting, which is just basically overnight fasting. You know, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 hours, you know, even 23, 24 hours doing OMAD, 1 meal a day. So you can do that. You know, if your family really structures its family time around meals around the table, then, you know, you can enjoy that meal with your family and be fasting the rest of the time. You know, if you want to embark upon a long-term fast, you can set your goal, and you can be short of that goal and know that anything that you do beyond 24 hours is going to be super healthy for your body. And so you can be proud of any accomplishment that you make in that, you know, in that way. My personal best at this point, I think, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 90, 91, 92 hours. And, you know, in that time frame, your body is doing so much healing. I really encourage you to go and research what happens in your body during a long-term fast and all of the amazing benefits that you get, health benefits that you get from doing a long-term fast. Also, please, before you embark upon any fasting at all, consult with your healthcare provider. I am not here to tell you what you should do, because you need to listen to your own body. You also need to listen to your healthcare provider and what they say is healthy for you, especially if you're taking any kind of medication. You definitely do not want to embark on that on your own. So what do I really want to talk about in this video? I want to talk about what are my triggers. This is something that I have been thinking about, something that I've been asking myself, because I started about 6 years ago, just a little over 6 years ago, I started on keto. At that point, I was really, I'd hit rock bottom with my health. I was having migraines that were lasting 4 to 5 days a week, and I was having them every other week. I was having excruciating stomach pain, like what you get when you have gallstones, but I had had my gallbladder removed. And so I should not have been having that level of excruciating pain. It was in my upper stomach area, radiating to my back. And when I say hours, I'm talking like 8 to 9 hours of excruciating pain. I had resolved a skin outbreak on my hand that had left my skin really, really thin, to the point that I felt like I could almost puncture my skin with my fingernail. It was super thin, and I was having trouble being able to peel vegetables, because any of the juice getting onto that skin, it was very also sensitive. And so it would, you know, I'd have an outbreak anytime I was peeling vegetables, so I would have to cook using rubber gloves. And just all of these different symptoms, and that's just a small handful of so many symptoms. I mean, not the least of which was I was putting weight on hand over fist, and I couldn't seem to stop the weight gain. And I was so frustrated and feeling defeated, and I didn't feel like I had any kind of quality of life, because I spent so much of my life on the couch just trying to recover from whatever it was that was ailing me in that moment. No quality family time, no quality time with my husband. It was just, you know, I was just surviving every single day. And so I began to, on one of my good days, I was listening to a BBC documentary about a man who was trying out low carb, high fat. And that really started me on this journey of finding out about keto. So while I was researching how to begin a low carb, high fat diet, I stumbled on keto, which is a little stricter version of low carb, high fat. And I decided to go for the keto, because I figured if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way. If I can get any kind of health benefits, I want to get them as fast as possible. And I was right. Within just a few weeks, I began to just see symptoms drop off one after another, and reversed a lot of those symptoms. And even though a couple of months later, something, you know, that had happened in my life derailed me, and it's been really, really hard to stay consistent ever since then. I have still enjoyed all of the benefits, because while I'm not terribly consistent, the times that I am keto, plus a fairly consistent practice of at least intermittent fasting, if not doing a good consistent rotation of long-term fasting, I'm still enjoying all of the benefits of this lifestyle, because I am consistent enough with it that the benefits are still there. For example, when I go out of ketosis, I can get back into ketosis within about a day or two, sometimes even within the same day, because my body is accustomed to burning fat, and it has grown unaccustomed to burning you know, sugar for its fuel. And so there are enough benefits there that the health reversals, or the reversals that I've had have stayed there. Now, there are some things that I still really need to resolve. And so that is what I'm working towards. So in those areas where I'm really inconsistent and I have like food cravings and things like that, one of the things that I've been asking myself lately is, what is it that causes that trigger? Like, what is causing not just a food craving? Because I think we all, you know, see foods that we've always kind of enjoyed our whole life, and you know, we kind of like, oh, that would be really, really nice. And we, you know, try to talk ourselves into it, while the other side of us is trying to talk ourselves out of it. But I'm talking like legit cravings. Like, I need something to put in my mouth. What is it that triggers this when I mentally know I'm not hungry, but I have a, you know, I'm still having a food craving? Well, the first thing is sleep, or lack of sleep, really. When I don't get good sleep, I end up having a food craving if I'm sleep deprived. And I have to say that this is one thing that I have recently resolved in my own life. I've gone for months getting up extra early in the morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning, but I couldn't ever get to bed early enough in the evening to be able to give myself a solid 8 hours of sleep. And I do have adrenal fatigue, so sleep is something that my body needs, and the more the better. So I was surviving on anywhere between 5.5 to 6.5 hours of sleep every night, which was not ideal for me whatsoever. And so I've managed to be able to work out my schedule in a way that allows me to have a good 8 to 8.5 hours of sleep at night. And I'm on week 2 of this new sleep schedule, and I have to say that the benefits, I'm already seeing the benefits. I'm already seeing no food cravings, actually, a better ability to be able to say no when I see a food that I've typically enjoyed. And it's not necessarily a craving. It's just like, oh, very nostalgic. That would be fun to eat, but I know that it's not good for me. I know that it does not promote health in my body. I know that it is actually going to have the opposite effect for me. It's going to cause me to experience immediate fatigue and everything. That is not good. So I'm able to say no to those things. The second trigger that I find is for me, food wise, is that when I am not controlling my stressors. So if I am allowing my stressors to get out of control, then I find that stress response, which really also the lack of sleep also really actually induces a stress response. But sleep is really kind of special, in a special category all to itself, because I can actually control my other stress responses. But if I'm not getting good sleep, then I'm still going to have that food craving. But even if I'm sleeping well, and I'm really handling that well, if I don't control my other stressors well enough, then I'm going to have that food craving. And that can be too much media. That is a huge one for me. If I'm consuming too much media, if I'm scrolling too much on my phone, if I'm listening to too many podcasts, if I'm if I'm working too much. So if I'm not saying no enough to the other responsibilities that I have that keep me tied to the computer, any of that, and that really is in a category apart from reading actual physical books, or even really books on a Kindle, because the Kindle app does not have that sort of, back blue light thing going on that really does cause a stress response in your body. If I'm not controlling that, if I'm not, once again, saying no to other responsibilities, not media tied, but other responsibilities, if I'm not saying no enough, and I'm not really giving myself enough margin in my day, that's also going to cause a stress response. If I'm not getting outside and getting good fresh air and vitamin D, soaking up that vitamin D, that really causes a stress response. If I'm sitting too much, not getting enough physical energy, all of these things really cause this sort of just a craving that is brought on by a stress response. And so I have to really pay attention to those things. Also, not taking my vitamins regularly. We really should be taking a good multivitamin. And I also take adaptogens. So if I'm not staying consistent with that, that also will just sort of bring on that craving. The last thing that really just brings on the craving is just not controlling my thoughts. And you can really go in a biblical direction with this, but, seeing that food and just going, I really want that food. And then allowing myself to talk myself into it. And really this does, like I said, this can really go in a biblical direction, because it comes down really to what it says in 1 John, that there are the 3 root sins of man, which is lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And really when you get to that point of, like Eve in the garden, she saw the fruit, it looked good, and so she took it and she ate it and gave it to her husband. And really we see all 3 of those root sins in that whole short scenario right there. And we do the same thing to ourselves. We do it all the time. We see the food and we're like, oh, that looks really, really good. So we have the lust of the eyes, and then it's like, ooh, that would taste so, so good. And you start to have that craving and you don't control it, lust of the flesh. And then you're thinking to yourself, I can overcome that. Later on, I'll get right back on my diet, or I'll just go ahead and fast tomorrow and, fast out all of those calories that I just consumed and all of that, all of those carbs. I'll just fast them away tomorrow. And that's the pride of life, thinking that we are the ones that are in control of all of that. Well, here's the thing. First of all, you should only eat foods that are really nourishing to your body, because God gave us this body. It's our temple. We're supposed to be taking care of it. And if we're not feeding our body, our physical body, what is nourishing to our body, we're not caring for this temple that God gave us. And if we're not caring for the temple that God gave us, it begins to break down. And then we're not able to do those things that God has called us to do. We're not able to be the wives and mothers that God has called us to be. We're not able to serve our church in the way that God wants us to serve, because we're so busy trying to medicate our body and prop it up in a way that we're, at least is able to do something, instead of really thriving in the life that God has given us to live. And so, no, we're not in charge of this, and we shouldn't be using, diets and fasting and all of that to resolve bad choices. Instead, we should be making the right choices to begin with. And so we can use that diet, we could use that fasting to supercharge what it is that we're already doing, so that we have good, healthy bodies, and we're not just constantly trying to resolve issues, but we're doing what they say that we should do. We're not spending all of our time trying to cure. We are actually preventing all of these things that will come up on us, when we choose to not follow good eating habits. And so, so that's kind of what I've been contemplating. It's like, what are my triggers? And then the next question I'm asking myself is, how do I then circumvent those triggers? Like, how do I actually not circumvent them even? How do I prevent those triggers from happening in the first place? Well, obviously getting the good sleep. So, I arrange with my family ways that they can, help me out, especially my children, giving them a few extra chores so that I can rearrange my schedule, and it allows me to sleep a little bit later in the day, which is really good for me because I am a homeschool mom working from home, serving in my church. I have a lot of plates that I am spinning all of the time. And so, and they were glad to take that on, because I sort of sweetened the deal a little bit for them, made them, like, yes, we were willing to do that. And then I'm setting myself limits. I'm setting myself limits for how much media I'm consuming. Most phones or apps come with a timing feature, and so that it will remind you when you have been on the app for too long, and you can set for however length of time that you want that to be. You can also download an app that will literally just block those apps, and you're not able to use them at certain times of the day. And so I do have the feature on that reminds me that I've been on that app for too long. And then that just lets me know, because you know what, an hour goes by just like that, and you don't even realize that you've been on your phone for that length of time. And so utilizing those tools, and is that way it helps you to use your time more wisely. And also just, planning times to get out of the house. My kids are on their break. I can walk up and down the street, breathe some fresh air, get in some, some of that good vitamin D. And then in the evenings, go out with my kids instead of sitting around always watching, TV or movies or, doing whatever. Now that the days are getting longer and the weather is warmer and nicer, it's so much easier to get out, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Getting into my garden again and getting things prepared for our spring planting, which is wonderful. You're getting your hands in all that dirt, and that's all just so good for you. It's so healthy for you while you're soaking up all that sun. It's just beautiful and wonderful. And also practicing saying no, looking at what is on my plate right now. Am I able to handle all of these responsibilities and do everything without feeling stressed, without feeling rushed? And am I able to give quality time to all of these things? And if so, then that needs to be your limit. And then after that, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And just trust that, God is going to bring up the person that's going to be best for that job, that is able to do a better job than you can by taking on too many responsibilities and not doing anything very well. And so, and then last of all, just enjoying the people that God has put in your life, your family, your children, your friends, spending time with them, quality time with them, laughing and having fun. There's so much healing that can happen in your body just by doing that, just by releasing the pressures of the day, laughing and spending quality time with the people that God has put into your life, one-on-one, in real life, not over an app, but just really enjoying that quality one-on-one time with your friends and family. There's just so much good that happens inside of our body. God created us for relationship. God created us for fellowship. God created us with the ability to enjoy those friendships and those relationships. And the Bible says that, you know, laughter does good like a medicine. So enjoying those times together with family and all of these things really just put our bodies in a wonderful, beautiful state of health and healing. And as we do that, combined with nourishing foods and good sleep, a great vitamin regimen, man, I'm telling you what, it will do so much good for our bodies. And then we'll be able to give to those around us. And in the ministries that God has put into our lives, we'll be able to give 100% of ourselves and give to those areas our quality ability and all of, you know, our talents and all of that. So I hope that this video has been inspiring for you. I hope that it's been encouraging for you. If it was, just be sure to, you know, just leave me that like, subscribe if you want. I'm trying to upload these videos as often as I possibly can. I'm not promising any kind of schedule because we know my track record just proves how well that works out for me. So, but I will try to do that. Sometimes they'll be informative, like today's video. Sometimes it's just going to be talking about how well I've been doing, maybe what I've been eating for that day, how well my fast is going, and all of that. Yeah, that's it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.